Hello, and welcome back to that Eurovision podcast, Eurovision with a Slice of Life. My name is Tim. I have not been here for a few episodes, and I'm very stoked to be back. And disclaimer: we're recording this in the mid of August, but when you're listening to this, it's the next month. So I'll explain a bit further. I've been good. Had celebrated my birthday, went to see Brooke. Cornelia's been confirmed for a concert in London in September, and I'm going to see her. And of course, the UK is having their annual meetup in October, so my calendar is starting to pile up again. And also, I've been planning for Yerevan, so I am planning to go, and I'm very, very excited about that. And joining me,
I'm Angus. I'm back again. I yabbered on long enough in the 1980 episode, apparently, that people wanted more from me. And sure, if that's what you want, beyond just recording never-ending podcast episodes, I've also just been keeping myself busy with small things. Got a few plans for the week and the weekend coming up. And beyond that, just excited to get going with this week's episode.
okay, then. Well, as you'll notice, this is the first time that it's just going to be a duo episode, so short and sweet compared to the 1980 episode. So, um,
Don't count your chicken. Don't count your eggs before they hatch.
exactly. So it's just literally me and Angus for this episode. And the reason why I was saying, oh, if you're listening to this, it's the next month, because today, I mean, when this goes out, is September 1. So, September 1 is a very important date in the Eurovision calendar because it means that we have now officially entered the 2023 Eurovision Song Contest season. Wow, my god, time flew by since May. But yes, Eurovision 2023, so that means any song that is released after today is eligible to participate in the 2023 Eurovision Song Contest. Just as long as they meet the criteria. So, no swearing, 3 minutes. 3 minutes, that's the most essential thing. And you gotta perform it live as well and all that kind of stuff.
So
But
this is also your reminder to that song that Noah Carell put out in the middle of August is not eligible despite being in the 3 minute range and getting through all the other rest. It is too old by the time the contest rolls around.
exactly. Like, you know, I'm even shocked about that we've already got one artist. It's not even September yet. But yet here we are. So it now means that any song that's released after today is eligible for the contest. By the time we're recording this, we do know a bit about the 2023 contest. We do have some certainty. So let's start off with what has happened. So we obviously knew that Ukraine won in 2022, had some issues. The UK was offered to host 2023, and the BBC has happily accepted the invitation by the EBU. And at the time of recording, it is definite that we are going to the UK next year. But when we are recording this, we already know 7 cities that have been shortlisted to basically have a chance of hosting the competition. And they are Glasgow, Manchester, Liverpool, Birmingham, Newcastle, Leeds, and Sheffield. I've had previous conversations with a few of the team members, so this is the first time I'm putting you in the hot seat, Angus. What did you think of the whole race so far? Because the BBC's confirmed at the time of recording it, we had 20 cities who've expressed their interest, and then they've reduced it to these 7. Was there any city that you thought, oh, okay, definitely getting it, or and then and then was there another city where you thought, I'm very shocked that this did not get into the shortlist?
I mean, I know this will be maybe a bit weird to say, oh, I thought they would definitely get in, but Edinburgh announced their bid basically the night of the deadline. And when that bid became official, I was like, oh, they have a good chance of getting it then for a variety of reasons. They didn't go through. Likewise, I thought that they would give Bristol a chance. On the other hand, like, I'm not at all surprised that Liverpool, Manchester, Glasgow are through. Sheffield, Leeds, and Newcastle are a bit more wild cards, but I mean, they were definitely higher on the list of the cities that you would that were like that put in bids. So that makes sense. I also already have my preferences. Shall I just already share them? So that
Yeah, I mean, we don't know what happened come September 1, so we might as well.
Yeah. So I mean, my personal preference would be Glasgow. To be fair, of all the cities on the list, it's the only one I've been to. It was only for a few hours. I was actually on a trip to Edinburgh and just spent a day in Glasgow. So yeah, Glasgow would be my preference, partially because of that, partially because I love Scotland. After that, if I had to pick, it would be Newcastle, purely because I would want to go there by ferry, just for the meme, and I can. There's a direct ferry from the Netherlands to Newcastle, and that would be very funny.
Oh my god, how many like transport methods can we tick off on the list? It's just it's amazing.
Yeah, I mean Newcastle. I can fly, train, like just direct flight. I can take the train via London. I can take the ferry. I could do a boat myself, but that's a bit overkill, I think.
Yeah, please don't, please don't, please don't. I mean, for me, this is the first time I'm actually publicly saying this. I'm shocked that London didn't make the shortlist, but also at the same time, kind of relieved, just because of the fact that look, London's amazing, it has everything, but London's just it's grasping for the space and the air at the minute. So the fact that you are giving the rest of the country a chance to do something is kind of amazing. Um, most of the cities I could see hosting. Like I have no issues with that. So like I can fight for a case for each of them. So like for me, Birmingham is just one train ride away from me. It's a 2 hour train ride. Glasgow, um, Fire Saga. I've already mentioned this so many times. Newcastle, my favorite UK artist. So if you're a Girls Aloud fan and you know Cheryl, then yeah, that's another thing. Um, Manchester. I mean, it's no secret that everyone has already been begging for Manchester. I'm just curious as to how they'll make it work because of the layout of the arena. It sits on top of a train station and surrounding areas. How you would do a Eurovision in that area is my main concern on that one. But you know, wherever we go, we'll be there. The site will be there. We'll be there to report for you. So that's something I cannot wait. But moving on. Other than that, another thing that's been announced on top of UK hosting it is that Ukraine will be involved in the hosting Eurovision 2023. UAPBC will be working with the BBC to basically work on the Ukrainian elements of the show, and also, of course, because they were the winners, they'll qualify to the grand final. Alongside the Big Five: France, Germany, Italy, Spain, and of course, host country UK. So, Angus, I wanted to ask you, how do you feel about the arrangement that the EBU has come up with in terms of BBC and UAPBC working, and the things that came with it when the announcement was made that the UK will officially be hosting next year's contest?
I mean, I'm happy with just the base idea of clearly the British and Ukrainian broadcaster working together to make a show that, at the very least, very much highlights Ukrainian art and culture as we would expect from contest if it were just hosting Ukraine, as would be under other circumstances. Of course, just they will be in talk and all that. It's fairly vague, and that's understandable. There's a lot still to be talked about and done. Basically everything. So a lot of my end opinion also depends on what the actual end result is like. I will be very honest about that. I mean, I hope that we get, for example, Ukrainian and maybe at least a Ukrainian presenter and maybe a British presenter, for example, stuff like that. I hope the Interval Act is something Ukrainian, at least like the biggest one in the final. But there's a lot of stuff that can be done, a lot of things that we may or may not end up seeing, and that those really are just questions that are unresolved. I do think that the current agreement is going to be good. Um, I do hope that the BBC takes everything on board, especially because we know that Ukraine. I mean, Ukraine has fairly recently held a Eurovision Song Contest, and um, it was a fairly successful one. I think it's safe to say that was a fairly successful contest, the one held in Kiev last time. So I hope that all the experience of that is also taken on board and combined with all the British experience and the BBC experience of hosting big television events in the UK. I hope that it ends up with a good combination of the two.
I mean, for me, it is nice to have UAPBC's involvement. As you've said, they've hosted the contest 5 years ago, so they've had a recent experience of hosting it. And also, with the fact that the UK hasn't hosted a Eurovision in the 21st century, so no semi-finals, no 4-hour grand finals. So it's it's I'm very curious to see how the UK will be hosting a 21st century Eurovision, just because I mean we know that they've got a good history of stepping in for broadcasters that couldn't do it when they won. So we know that they're very much able to do the task, no questions asked. And I'm looking forward to this collaboration, and I really hope that the Ukrainian element is felt throughout the 3 shows and, maybe more. uh Asking about it because everyone's having this wish list. So if you were the executive producer of the contest, like, how would you incorporate Ukrainian elements and keeping and adding some British elements, like maybe finding an equilibrium within the show? How would you do it if you were executive producer of Eurovision 2023, hypothetically?
I would go for, technically speaking, 3 hosts. Not all of them on screen all the time. Basically, we'd have our 2 main hosts are on the stage, one Ukrainian, one British. We would have another Ukrainian TV presenter, cultural person, or whatever, in the green room doing the green room stuff, so that we don't get an overload of hosts, but at the same time we do get like that nice balance of most Ukrainian stuff, bit of British stuff. For interval acts, I want it to be predominantly Ukrainian, but we can, for example, really feature, at least in the first semi-final, it would be lovely to feature specifically Ukrainians living in the UK, so we can maybe get some combination of that. As I already said on the 1980s episode, and as I already mentioned in the chat of the live stream that some of our members did over on YouTube about what should happen and who should and how the hosting should go, I said put the BBC skits that that some of us love and that we all expect, put them almost entirely on YouTube. Make like this little 3-minute highlight piece for each semi-final and the final to put in there to remind people, hey, on YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, we do all these things. We have Rylan doing his taxi thing. As I already said, I need the Nigella Lawson Food Lab version of the Nikki Look Labs. I need that. I need that so much. I need that so badly because it offers so many opportunities. And also Nigella would definitely love to do it, which is also a great bonus. So we can the BBC can make skits to its heart's content. It can put it in the UK on television. And for everyone outside of it, instead of forcing it into the broadcast, put it online where fans can see it, where it's more easily shareable so that you can get that viral moment if you want it. So you get even more views on your YouTube. So you can say, the BBC increased YouTube viewership by another 50 or 100 million. Stuff like that, all those lovely stats that we all love reading 2 weeks after the contest that we all get too excited about, even though they don't mean anything. That is the kind of stuff that I think the BBC could really do. So keep the British stuff in a way that's easily shareable, but not in the main contest necessarily. Make the main contest primarily like Ukrainian focused in the places where you can do that. Postcards, sure, keep it British. I mean, I have ideas for postcards that are not necessarily like country based anyway, but that's a different story.
I mean, for me, like, I do agree with the BBC skits, and I really hope that they don't, look, force it into everyone, because we've already known the history of the BBC deviating from their European counterparts. We get the skits, everybody else gets the interviews, and I'm just sitting here like, why are we watching this? Like, as a Euro fan, it cringes me, and I really hope that the BBC listens to us, because we're the one that has to go through it, like, year on, year in, year out. So BBC, if by any chance you're listening to this, please make whatever you're doing a bit more universal, because I know that there's just small broadcasters that go on commercial break and still, you know, and then there's majority that stay on, don't do commercial breaks and just do the interviews. So make it uniform, because it will just get confusing for everyone. But as in terms of hosts, I really want Timor back, that's for sure. Whether he is the main host or in the green room, I want him involved in some sort of capacity, because he's done a great job. And his reaction when Kalish Orchestra won was fantastic. And I love how his face just lit up when the televotes were announced and that they've won. It was just amazing.
Yeah, my main two duo I would want on the stage are Timor for Ukraine and Connie Huck as the British presenter.
Oh, see, you're having a bit of a, everyone's having a bit of a bet now. I was like, who is it? You're getting a range from Emma Willis, Holly Willoughby. Um, please don't, just because I watched This Morning to death, and that is just ugh. Um, Emma Willis is a good shout. She's hosted Big Brother, The Voice. Um, Tess Daly from Strictly, it will work out well, because BBC. Rylan, because Rylan knows his stuff, and he's already proven that through the commentary side of things as well. So I would love for him to get the hosting gig, because he's the only one that puts us in a good light in the front of the BBC, and I would be very much up for him to do that. Okay, moving on. Other than the hosting things, at the time of recording of this, we already know that a number of countries have already confirmed their intent, or confirmed that they will be going, or have confirmed that they're working on some things to hopefully go on and improve the results. So, like, I'll take this for example: North Macedonia, their head of delegation has written a report on how they can improve their Eurovision participation. They were very close this year, which I'm very gutted for Andrea, because I really liked her song, and she really gave a emotive performance in Turin. So I was kind of upset when I found out that she came 11th. But yes, we do know that a number of countries have already confirmed, but a number of countries have already actually went above and beyond and confirmed, like, national selection. So from the list, from as of, when are we recording this, the 17th of August, we've got the following countries that were aware of what they're doing. So Albania's open submissions for Festivali Kangas, but we still don't know if they're going to use that. Likely will, because tradition. We got Finland, where Ile will be using UMK once again, and that'll be held in February. Correct me if I'm wrong. You've also got France Television already confirming that Sevuke they will return for another year. Further details to be released later on. As we mentioned earlier on, we do have our first artist already, in the form of Noah Kirel, and that was officially confirmed this month. So that was great. Last year's host country Italy has also confirmed that Sanremo will be held in February. Still still to be confirmed whether or not it'll be used for Eurovision, most likely, because they did get a top 10 result. So there's that. Avrotros has already opened the submissions for the Netherlands, and that will close, well, should have closed by the time this is airing. Um, Same with Norway. Melody Grand Prix, the will be used to select their representative. Spain, Benidorm Fest has already been confirmed, and the final will be held in February. Sweden, which was the first one to actually confirm their dates for next year because of the cancellation of the tour earlier this year. Melody Festival will happen again, with the final on March, obviously. Switzerland, they've already opened their submissions, presumably to internally select Mary's successor, and that will close on the 8th of September. And earlier today, at the day of recording, Ukraine has actually opened submissions for next year's competition. And they have confirmed that we will find out Ukraine's representative in December. We don't have an exact date yet, so if they beat Figmas, who knows? Now that was a very long list, Angus, of what we've been made aware of. What are your thoughts on this? Because I know last year Finland sent your faves, and I mean I could go on, but I'll let you go first. Which one of these are you most looking forward to?
I mean, let's be clear for the listeners here. The Rasmus was my childhood band. I did not like their entry for Eurovision. I also quickly want to shout out before I just go rattling off about all the countries that have announced what they're doing. We have a couple of countries where it's clear that they have announced they're going to Eurovision that will probably use a national selection, which are the Baltic countries and Denmark. But they're yet to announce what exactly they're doing, but it's expected they will be keeping their national selection. As always, a bunch of countries that still haven't confirmed are expected to confirm for Eurovision 2023. Most of them would be holding national finals. We're talking Iceland, Portugal, Slovenia, and Croatia are pretty sure that their national finals would return and are pretty sure to return to Eurovision. Romania, Moldova, will there be a national final? It's a guess with them every year. See also Ireland. Australia probably would have a national final. The Czech Republic, very much up in the air whether they will be competing in Eurovision at the moment. There is a lot of conflicting word on the street, many different rumors. If they were, expect ESCZ to come back. I'm really looking, as for the actual national finals that we know anything about, because for the internal selections, I cannot say much. I'm looking forward to some good choices. Most of the broadcasters I don't necessarily have faith in, except for the Dutch one, and even the Dutch one. We've been on such a good streak here with the Netherlands in Eurovision, both with our selections and our results, that I just fear that any moment it can go completely wrong. I sure hope it doesn't, but it could go wrong any moment. Of the national selections that have been confirmed, I hope Norway does something different. Norway's Melody Grand Prix has to change completely. This has been an opinion that even NRK changed, also shared already last year, where they already proposed implementing juries and then didn't, where they proposed changing the televoting rules and then didn't. So I expect a lot of hullabaloo about, oh, we're going to change everything about the contest and then we keep the exact same format and the exact same rules. France always has a fun national final. Finland, I hope that they do something where we don't get a big name band again, because what we've seen in UMK for the last few years is that a band with current name recognition goes into the contest and wins it, seemingly based on the name recognition, whether that is true or not. But we've seen, so the last few results were like, so Blind Challenge did really well, Rasmus did fairly poorly. The 2019 result, we also need to remind people that Finland did crash out in the semi-final in 2019. Like that, we shouldn't forget about that. Even though they try to. So, like, I do hope that UMK keeps like the they're select, so that's not the real rules, but how they select what songs get to compete. So the expert panel thinks about who they shortlist. So I'm really looking forward to Spain. Albania I always enjoy, even if other people don't. Although the format is a bit, well, a Melody Festival. We really lucked out with the winner this year. I fear for who we might get. I hope the people of Sweden learn from this year and keep up this streak. Not to be Anders Bagge hate account, but I fear we get something similar to him winning, or just one of the generic pop twinks that compete in Melfest every year. And that is fine. I know that there are people who enjoy and stand that. I just don't need that in Eurovision.
Okay. I need to breathe there for a minute. Anywho, yeah, so thank you for that additional detail in terms of artists and stuff. So, one thing I will point out before I move on is Australia. Um, it is the last year that they have a confirmed place for Eurovision. It is 2023. Whether they're able to participate after that, we probably won't know till after May 2023. So, let's just fingers crossed that Australia gives it everything they've got and win it, and they'll be forced to come back after that.
Speaking of things I nearly forgot, we forgot the most important Eurovision country, San Marino. They did say they wanted Una Voce to return, but that was after they held Una Voce and before they had the Eurovision result. So whether that actually happens remains up in the air as well. But expect San Marino to hold on to their completely wild national final format that definitely gave us an entertaining result.
Oh my god, I will never forget that chaotic night. But anywho, for me, what am I looking forward to? Um, UMK, you had a very strong format. That's how you do if you want to be thinking about more of quality than quantity, then Finland was your choice because they just picked 6 perfection entries, and I could, argue for all of those 6. As much as I wanted Ram Pam Pam to be that entry, which it wasn't, I'm still heartbroken about that. But I'm guessing Finland and rock would. It's just something that you can't separate, unfortunately, and we've proven that for the past 2 years. I mean, yes, you made the final, but at what cost? Like, I mean, Rasmus is doing well for themselves. They're touring. I'll give them that. But next year I actually want someone up and coming. Like, you know, like Axel said, I'm still looking back. What would have happened in Rotterdam, because he's that definition of you don't need to be a recognized artist to do well in UMK, but whether or not you'd get to Eurovision, that was a story we'll never find out, unfortunately. So I have a lot of high hopes for UMK, and also I hope Krista comes back to host. And I'm pretty sure Izzy has grown old enough, and I really hope that she's able to do the hosting again, because she's such an amazing person to host. And I don't know if Angus can prove this to me when we were in Madrid. Okay, next. First of all, I'm happy that we actually have our first representative. From what I've heard from Noah Carell's discography, she sounds really well. I don't know what type of song she'll aim to go for at Eurovision, but you know what? From what I've seen, I'm sure that she can bring Israel back to the final. Hope. I'm not saying definitive. I'm saying hope before someone comes for me, because we don't know what the other countries would bring. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed to that. Um, Italy. I know that Mahmoud and Blanco was an obvious choice. So I am hoping that this year brings something different. As I mean, I love Brevity. I want really like a pop app upbeat song, like something different. Just because, like, I like the rock, I like the ballad, but I mean, we've seen some wacky entries at Sanremo this year, and I really hope that they get to it and then just go to Eurovision because that would just be pretty amazing. Uh,
Justice for Donatella Piaggi.
exactly. That's who I really want. It's like, imagine that at the stage. Like, you get a spot in the final and you just get to do that in front of 200 million people. That would be amazing. Next up, Norway. I agree with Angus. Like, what's the point of having these heats each week where the eventual winner would be a pre-qualified artist and a song that Norway didn't vote for in the first place? Like, I love the multi-week format. I really do. But, you know, you gotta stop having everyone pre-qualifying just because what's the point? Like, um I'm happy with your success just because of the fact that, ever since you've used this format, you've qualified for the final. You've got some great or maybe decent results, but I wish more. And also, I really hope, Ulrike, that the 2 year break has been more than enough for you to come back and actually win. I would want to see you on stage. Spain, whoever is representing Spain next year has some very big shoes to fill. So I feel sorry for Chanel's successor, just because she paved the way. Like they said, Eleni Ferreira walked so Chanel could run. And she proved that quite well. Like, as much as I love Eleni's music, like, everyone's talking about Chanel, 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 and that's how it's been for the past 4 months. Well, let's say about 3 or 4 months or so. So, that's a very tough shoes to fill, especially if he came third. And I really hope that Benny Dorm Fest 2023 is a success. And hopefully I'll be able to go. Moving on to Sweden, just because it's my heart. Cornelia was the best. She was the breath of fresh air that we needed. And for me, I really hope that Melody Festival and doesn't change anything. Like, I could have fought for either way, Anders Bagge or Cornelia. Like, I just would have cried harder if Cornelia lost. But I think all of you know that already. And I know that all of you were laughing when the sun broke. Where it's like, what if Anders Bagge actually made it? Like, he'd just be performing in a black screen because the sun didn't work. Yes, I get it. I get it. I get it. It is frustrating. So hopefully whatever they do, it'll be great. The submissions is going to open by the time we've published this, so you know hopefully another woman, and hopefully you keep to the formula, because what you did this year is right, and I would hate for you to tank next year. Like, I wouldn't want that for Sweden. Switzerland, they're hopefully going for the internal selection method, and all I'll say to that is, why fix what's not broken? And P.S. Marius did not deserve nil point at the televote. And as for Ukraine, I'm very excited just because of the fact that it's something that we haven't had a Ukrainian national final in December, so I'm very, very looking forward to it. And the UK, I don't know how you're selecting your entry. Another big shoes to fill. I'm so nervous. I mean, I know we made the final, but like, please don't think that just because we've done it well now that you can just go, we'll leave it for a few years, 10 if we're lucky. No, please don't do that, because the past 5 years were torturous. It really is. Uh,
Hey BBC, call up some of the people who are on the Dutch selection committee who are no longer on it. I'm sure they'll be happy to help you with telling you how they turned a Anouk moment into like long-lasting momentum. Hint, hint.
Hello. But yes, yeah, those are the ones that I've been looking forward to. As well as that, we've actually had a few countries that have already confirmed that they're not coming back. As IQ said, no way back. No way back. Okay, we're gonna start off with Andorra, who's already said that return's not in the cards. Belarus's BTRC's EBU membership is still suspended. Liechtenstein's 1FLTV has said it's no longer aiming to apply for an EBU membership. Luxembourg is also not returning. And for the first time, Russia is also had their EBU membership suspended. And Slovakia, we don't know what the hell's going on, and neither is Turkey. So, and Bosnia Herzegovina as well. So, we don't know what's happening. So, if anybody comes back, I'd really appreciate it. What are your thoughts on those, Angus?
I mean, there are some soft rumors that Slovakia is, like, despite first saying that they're definitely not returning for 2023, apparently they sort of walked back on that, so they might come back. The Monaco rumors keep existing, although it seems to be that if they return, it's more likely to be 2024 than 2023. I mean, that would be wild to have Monaco back in the contest. Uh, for a lot of these smaller or poorer countries, or at least where the broadcasters have less money, let's put it like that, I think success from broadcasters such as San Marino, which is the smallest country to compete, Moldova, which works on a shoestring budget, um, I think success from broadcasters like that help show what you can achieve in a contest on a small budget, and also what the money back can be. Um, like, I mean, we glanced over Germany and whatever they're doing for Eurovision 2023, wisely so, because that could be a podcast episode of itself with all my opinions about it. But I think it also goes to show in some ways that, like, hey, throwing money at the problem will not help you either. I do hope that a lot of countries take it by heart, even though I know that it's not necessarily like it can be expensive, and the problem, especially some broadcasts like the Bosnia Herzegovina one, being in like just a specific financial arrangement they have at the moment. I do hope to see countries return or countries debut. I'd love for the BBC to say, you know what, for Eurovision 2023 and Eurovision 2023 only, or at least as a starter, we help Scotland, BBC Scotland, BBC Alba, we help Wales, S4C, we help them compete at Eurovision. Because especially BBC Alba is just part of the BBC. So if it help them compete, first of all, gives England some extra points so that even if you send in a mildly garbo entry, which, always a possibility, it helps you up the scores a bit. And it helps you can make the contest more British without actually making like the hosting part more British,
Don't
which
give
is
them any
very
ideas.
smart. I mean, it would be very funny if then Wales or Scotland end up winning before England does.
That's just punishment for England, I think.
I'd love to see it.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, moving on. It's not just countries who have like confirmed what they're doing or what hopefully their plans are. Like we've actually gone further and even into the pre-party season. So we know that Barcelona Eurovision party is taking place. When that would be is another story. Eurovision concert was actually the first one to confirm that they're returning. Like on the night of the concert itself, when me and Angus were there, they literally blittered out at the front of the stage. See you next year, April 15, 2023. And then Eurovision Spain kindly all of a sudden on one random night in July just said, "Oh yeah, we're holding ours Easter weekend next year, so April 7 and 8, 2023." So there is still a few pre-parties that still need to confirm. LEP is one of them, which I think will happen just because of the fact that uh, London's not hosting. So it would be nice for everyone. I think it would be nice that they use it as a stepping stone. They invite the artists, and if they want them to record their postcards here, then they could. Or they might do something like they did in 2021 or 2022. So we still don't know how that's going to work. So if they want Britishness, then they could come here and use that as an opportunity. But hopefully they do. Israel pre-party, very hush on that. So, hopefully they do come back. Like, it is a very nice pre-party when they do it. And the Adriatic pre-party, I know they were aiming to make it as an in-person event. So I hope that they do go to that, because it gives me an excuse to go to Croatia. Just because I really want to go to Croatia. I know, Angus, I wanted to ask you as well, because it was your first pre-party season. You went to two of these, so we covered Eurovision concert and pre-party ES together. So I just wanted to ask you, how did it feel like going into your first Eurovision pre-parties?
Oh, it was great. I really had a great time. Um, I mean, obviously, not to brag, but as a Eurovision journalist, I got to interview some people, and that was really fun. But also, just the concerts themselves are really fun. And if you're someone like me who might not have been to any Eurovision events earlier for a variety of reasons, just go. If it's like, don't travel all the way like I did for pre-party. Yes, don't travel to Madrid from Amsterdam just for the pre-party. But if there's one nearby to you, or you can combine it with a different trip, I definitely recommend you going to one. It's a great experience, both for the music, just to get to hear it live, because what are the odds that you actually get to Eurovision itself? Like, those tickets are rare and much, much more expensive. Um, but also you just get to meet fellow Eurovision fans, and there's always, like, even if the song you like most of the night, everybody hates. There's always a few people in the crowd who love it as much as you, or are going just as wild, and you can chat about it later. And it's always great to make new friends that way. Um, they were very different in vibe, by the way. So do ask people that you know who have been to Eurovision pre-parties which one is right for you. Uh, But yeah, no, they were both great fun. I would also quickly like to know that don't forget, people, that if you don't want to go to a pre-party or cannot, there's also the just the Eurovision festival circuit. I guess for me the most notable one is the one held in Amsterdam, het Grote Song Festival Feest, which is going to be held in November, which already has a number of artists announced that you can just go check out on their website. I've also heard great things about that event. But yeah, no, the Eurovision pre-parties are great fun. Never thought I'd be going to one, and this year I'm really looking forward to doing it all over again.
Yeah, like I went to three of these in person. LEP, Eurovision concert and pre-party ES. Definitely hitting those up. I really want to try Barcelona because I haven't been to Barcelona yet, and Israel will be lovely. So shout out to the organizers if you're listening. It would be lovely to actually visit Israel. Actually, no, not visit. Come back to Israel again, because I actually been for the 2019 contest, and that was a fun experience. And I wish I could do it, even if it's just for like a little Eurovision kind of thing. Um. Okay. Well, you know, other than that, there is, one little thing that's gonna happen in between, you know, between now and May 2023, and that is Little Junior Eurovision, which is going to Yerevan. So, we're getting a little pre warm up. So it's like, every 6 months there's something going on Eurovision wise. So it's like, it's an alternate of Eurovision Junior, Eurovision Junior, Eurovision Junior. So it's like, it's the perfect alternate. So, um, currently we have about 16 countries coming in for that, including Angus is the Netherlands, who's actually due to select their entry next month. So, uh, so for at the time of recording, we know that there's about 16 countries. Whether there's more, there's a surprise return. We're very curious to see about that. Angus, I know you've been off the line. Is there anything you're expecting about Yerevan? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
My thoughts are that it's a fairly big party because it's the 20th edition, so I am expecting something a little bit special, especially because the EBU and AMPTV have already said that they were planning something a bit special for the contest itself. I'm looking forward to a variety of music. I'm sad to see that Wales isn't returning. I'm sad to see that Australia isn't returning. I'm sad to see that Germany's withdrawing. I expect some kind of disaster bolt from the Netherlands this year, knowing the typical track record after we send in a fairly middle of the road ballad, which we had last time around. I'm just looking forward to the contest itself. Again, not something I thought I would have said before last year when I basically got my first exposure to Junior Eurovision, because people, like, someone had to live tweet the Dutch and German national finals. Um, which is still interesting that Netherlands still has a national final for Junior Eurovision, but we've jettisoned the one for the adult contest and just never looked back. I mean, fairly so, but still, I'm looking forward to what everyone sends in, because Junior Eurovision, while it's a kids contest, in some ways it lends itself to more earnestly different entries. Like, we would, like, sure, Georgia is weird in Eurovision everywhere, every time as well, but Let's Count the Smiles is not something you'd hear in Eurovision Song Contest proper, even though it would have fit right in there. Like, it's still junior Eurovision entry and stuff like that. I definitely always enjoy seeing. Yeah, some countries still waiting for announcements. Some surprise. Again, Scotland, please join whenever you feel like it. There's space.
Yeah, like,
Uh,
Wales has already like turned down the opportunity, so BBC ABBA, it's all on you.
San Marino, why don't you try it out? Just
They already said nope.
I know, but
But like,
hope
yeah,
dies last.
yeah, like, yeah, looking for me, I'm more looking forward to visiting Armenia, just because I have not been to Armenia ever. So I'm there for a week. I'm very curious, and I'm just excited to be watching it on prime time.
And I'm looking forward to helping Tim cover it all from the comfort of my own home.
Yeah, and then while I'm freezing myself in like what -10 or something, and yeah, but I'm thinking that's a temperature, but I don't think it is. Okay, then. Well, all right, then. I think that perfectly sums up what it is. Well, what the Eurovision 23 season would entail us. Rounding things up, Angus. What's the one? Can you name me about 2 to 3 things that you're looking forward to in this season?
I mean, if it's what I hope, there's just one thing I hope, and that's Spain sending something in one of their regional languages. That is something I want. That's something I really, really want. Not just because Tanchugueras is like my favorite national final band ever, but also because of that. Beyond that, well, I'm just looking forward to meeting a new crop of great artists, who, like, all great people with great songs, with all like different views on music and the contest, and just getting to know them all over again and experiencing all the happiness and heartbreak of national final season. I do hope to see a fewer national finals than we had this time around, because Eurovision 2022 had a few too many national finals that were a bit too long.
Or having a lot of entries than it should have, really. Here's looking at
I
you.
mean,
Here's looking at you, Romania. Excuse me.
like Serbia, which has had a great end result, easily could have cut down. What they had, like 40 songs in the national final, easily could have been 10. No one would have minded. I've said this in the national final decompression session as well. Like, especially if juries get to vote in the national final anyway, they also get to select who is competing in it. So they're basically double dipping. So just give us the songs that you would want to see winning anyway. Let the public fix the rest.
Okay, for me, I'd say the UK hosting, so we can all shut up now and experience a UK Eurovision in the 21st century. This is not a dig. This is just like saying we finally got what we wanted for. Be careful with what you wish for, and don't set high expectation. As much as I hate saying that, it's like I hate having high expectations for this, just because we haven't done this in over 20 years, and I'm just nervous that people have such high expectation that they become disappointed. Live in the moment and enjoy it how it comes. That's the first thing I'm going to say. um yeah, the new crop of national final artists that we get to talk to and interview, and hopefully we get to see live in person. I mean, I know I'll definitely go to Sweden more than once this next year, and hopefully that I don't rack up my 90-day limit. Thank you, Brexit. And the pre-party season, the pre-party circuit, just because I really want to do more than London, Amsterdam, and Madrid, which I know I will. I already pre-booked rooms for Madrid and Amsterdam. I'm just waiting for Barcelona to confirm so I can actually book it and then book my flights. So I'm very looking forward to that. And that brings us to a natural close to this podcast episode talking about Eurovision 2023. This has been Tim, and I just wanted to say thank you to Angus for joining me in this episode. We wish you a prosperous Eurovision 2023 season, and we hope that you get what you want in terms of artists and songs and participating countries. Thank you so much for listening. If you like this episode, then uh, please give us a like and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at That Your Podcast. Also follow our main website, That Eurovision site, at That Your site on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. Any last words, Angus?
Thank you for having me on. Thank you to our listeners for listening to me talk for way too long again. And yeah, let's hope this is a great new Eurovision year once again.
All right, then. So we'll see you all in the next episode, and we hope you have a good one. Goodbye.
Bye.